Hi, I'm Molly, and today we'll be ranking the characters from Mistborn. I read a lot when I was about 13, 14, those early teen years. It has become a New Year's resolution of mine to get back into reading. So 2020 was the year I was going to pick up books. One of the trilogies I picked up was Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series, and Jesus Christ. I finished this series a few weeks ago, and it still is plaguing me right here, and I need to talk about it. The book series itself it's 3 books long. It has become one of the greatest series I have ever read. Brandon Sanderson is a genius. Every little detail had a purpose. There wasn't a loose end. It all meant something. Everything from beginning to end meant something, and it's toying with me in ways I can't even describe. I am speechless, and so this has led me here. I cannot talk about the entire plot of the trilogy without having a mental breakdown, so I thought a fun way to talk about my favorite parts of the series would be to rank the characters in it, because that seems like a much more achievable goal. When you make it all the way to the end, you realize everything meant something. Like, I cannot stress this enough. Everything meant something. There was a reason for everything, even the tiniest details in the first book. Just, if you haven't read it, do yourself a favor and read it, because well, I'm clearly not the person to ask because I've taken a 10-year gap from reading, but let me just tell you, I highly recommend this series. So I'm just going to run you through the tiers I have selected for this video. First tier is 10 soon. If you haven't read the book, that's going to make a lot of sense soon. If you have read the book and you don't agree with me, you should click off. The second tier, iconic. What I mean by iconic is the characters that are like the book. Like, they are what make the book what it is. You couldn't have this series without them. Third tier, we have the Bad Bitches Club. Straightforward, no messing about. These are the bad bitches that we stand. Fourth tier is when we start to slip down the slope. You know, it is what it is. There's no, it is what it is. So. And finally, the last tier is Scrub Season 9. When I put a character in Scrub Season 9, it doesn't mean I hate them. It means I hate them, but I think every character in this book, I think, served a purpose, had a reason for being there, and I enjoyed reading about them. But if I met them in my day-to-day life, I would. Without further ado, I'm just gonna get right into it and get started, because I've been waiting to do this for a long time. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I'm ready to do it. I just want to do it, so we're gonna do it. So I feel like a good idea would be to get Tensoon out the way. Tensoon is the love of my life. Oh, I should mention, this video is gonna have so many spoilers. It's gonna be full of spoilers. It's gonna be full of spoilers from book 1 to book 3. There's going to be so many spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, there's going to be spoilers. So let me say that again. There's going to be a lot of spoilers. So please, please, please don't watch it if you don't want to be spoiled, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Back to Tensoon. He is my number 1. Tensoon, it's hard to describe, is a Kandra. Is a being that can turn into any human if they eat the bones of that human. So I don't know if he's really a person. He's my person. So Tensoon didn't really come around until the second book, and this is where the spoilers begin. If you've read the book, you know that Tensoon was Orsa. Tensoon was Orsa was a sentence that I kept saying frequently once I found out that Tensoon was Orsa. The amount of times I would go up to my sister and say, Tensoon is Orsa, and she, having not read the book, would not understand what I was talking about, but would nod along because she gets that I was really overwhelmed that Tensoon was Orsa, if I'm saying that right. When I found this out, this is what brought this series to the next level for me, because Tensoon is Orsa, and I'm just, that's what I'm gonna say about that. Orsa was a companion for the main character Vin, and so finding out that Orsa was actually Tensoon all along was very, like, alarming, to say the least. When this reveal happened, I was shook to my core. But my boy came through, he saved Vin's life, he redeemed himself in not only my eyes, but the eyes of the witnesses. The witnesses being Vin. Best friends. So they had a journey together in the book, a bit of a camaraderie. Don't take away their friendship from me. Okay, so Tensoon takes the form of a dog for majority of his time in the series. My favorite moment that involved Tensoon was when Vin was patting his head just absent-mindedly, and he was like, this feeling makes me uncomfortable. I'm not sure what this feeling is. Him having that feeling made me have a feeling about standing him forever. It's so hard to describe without context, but if you've read the series, can you not tell me that Tensoon is the best character in the series? I'm putting it at the top. I'm putting him at the top, and that's where he belongs. So next up, I think I'm gonna do Vin, and I think I'm gonna do Vin just so that I can kind of, for those who haven't read the book, introduce the series to you a little bit. Vin is the main character. In book 1, she is a street orphan. She gets sort of taken in by the crew, this gang of thieves. She grows from little street urchin to woman of my heart. Vin is an actual human angel, but she's also the embodiment of the devil, because the devil never sleeps and neither does Vin. She is the greatest action hero I've ever read. She feels so real to me, and I love her, I love her, I love her. I love her. Her journey, unreal. Her street smarts, unreal. Her love of dresses and perfume, 100% valid. Just because she is an action hero doesn't mean she can't love all the girly things that I love. Her future husband, Ellen, lucky bastard. And the earring, don't get me started. So this is going to be one of the big spoilers of the book. And this is what I mean by Sanderson making the smallest detail mean something. From book 1, Vin has had this little earring in her ear since before she can remember. Like, it was a gift from her mum before she became a street orphan slash urchin. And so basically in the book there's this entity Ruin who is sort of like the main bad guy, and we'll get to him a bit later. It turns out what we work out in book 3 is that he has influence over anyone with the slightest bit of metal. Vin has had this earring in since she was a child, and she's also heard the voice of her brother since she was a child in her head, right? Do you see where I'm going with this? Basically, she has been hearing this voice from book 1 to book 3 in her head, and supposedly this whole time she thought it was her brother. Wrong. It was actually the voice of Ruin, the entity. Need I say more? This reveal, among others, was one of the things that freaking got me. In the book, she has to kill the Lord Ruler, and you know what? She fucking killed that bitch, and she fucking killed that bitch dead. I feel like it goes without saying that Vin has to go in the iconic tier, because she really is the series. I would say the series has a main character, but if it did have a main character, she is the main character. Straight to iconic. Why did we ever doubt it? I feel like next I'll do Mare. Mare, irrelevant. Sure, I have some sympathy for her, but she's not even in the book, so I'm just gonna scrub season 9 because I don't have time for people who couldn't care to make an appearance. I don't care if you've been dead the whole time. Like, honestly, just rude if you ask me. And then I'll do Set. Set, on the one hand, did hold a siege on the city. But on the other hand, joined the team once he lost the siege on the city. So I feel like with Set, it is what it is. And the reason I say that is because he was both good and bad. Experienced warlord, terrible at sieging a city. The math adds up. Just look at the numbers. Next we'll do Hammond. Hammond is a big old softie, and he's part of the crew that adopts Finn. So he has quite a good rapport with Breeze, who's another member of the crew. And I just found their talks and their chats funny. They were just such a good duo, dynamic duo. So Breeze's power is to manipulate emotions, and Hammond's power is that he's really tough and strong. And what I thought was interesting about their relationship is it was Hammond bringing his philosophical questions to Breeze. You know, he seemed to have more of a empathy for people than the person who's supposed to be in touch with emotions. Basically, Hammond will just try to engage you in a philosophical argument anytime, anywhere, even in the most inappropriate time. This is both a good and a bad thing. Good if you want a distraction. Bad if the last thing you need in a battle is a distraction. He's a cutie with a booty. He gets to see his family, rarely sad reacts, but also wish that was me. He trained the army to overthrow the empire. He is an underrated hero, and he personally becomes attached to all the soldiers he trained, and you can't not love him. So I feel like Bad Bitches Club. You know, he doesn't make or break the series, but he belongs in the club with the elite. I'll do Straff because I guess he's at the top of the list, and I'm just kind of doing what I feel like doing. Straff, straight to Scrub season 9. Is he over Mare? Yes. Is that mean of me? Put him over Mare? Probably, but Mare's irrelevant. Straff, bad guy. No good dude. Not good man. Bad person. Scrub season 9. We'll do Human next because he's there. He's another creature from the Mistborn series. He's basically, what's he called? He's called a something. But basically they're like giants who have the bare animalistic emotions, needs that humans essentially do. It's basically just like a Neanderthal. I don't know what to say about Human. Human, it is what it is. Under Set, because I feel like he's less interesting, doesn't bring a lot to the table, but also helped in a key discovery in the 3rd book. When it gets to this, that means it is what it is. When I can't outweigh either good or bad, it is what it is. Up next we have the Lord Ruler. Torn between Scrub season 9 and it is what it is. And the reason I'm torn is because in book 1 he was just kind of like the generic bad dude. Like when he first died I was like, yeah sis. Like when Vin killed him I was like, good riddance, don't need to waste any more time on you. But the more we learned about him after his death, the more we realize he was helping us all along. And so that tears me, because he's not in the bad bitches club. Like, he just isn't. When you're a tyrant for 1,000 years, you don't belong in the bad bitches club. But he was keeping humanity alive for so long, and he created the Kandra, Inquisitors, which we'll get into, and he created Colossus, which he just realizes what human was. Oh, human is not a human is a Colossus. So like, he's a talented guy, he's a hard worker, he's a visionary, but he also would burn people in like mass gatherings of the city in front of everyone. So I feel like Scrub season 9, he has few redeemable qualities for the things that he has done, and that's what I'm gonna say. Sazed or Sazed. In my head it was Sazed, so it's gonna be Sazed. Gosh, Sazed, hero, literally, of ages, literally. That's a big spoiler, sorry. He was an optimistic queen. Well, in the first 2 books, I feel like he was just the voice of reason. He stopped us from panicking when we were panicking. He roused the crew. He just helped us by being a soft little bunny. We stand a legend. It was him all along. I can think of no one more deserving. Cool guy, cool dude. He's going straight to iconic. You can't read a book called The Hero of Ages and then not put The Hero of Ages in iconic. Do you understand what I'm saying? So next on my list, we have Captain Goradel. Did one good thing once. I kept getting him and another character called Captain I don't know how to say his last name. Captain Mox. I kept getting those 2 characters mixed up, and I feel like Goradel also didn't bring anything to the table. Like, if I had to pick the better one, it's the other guy. This is a ranking for a reason. Some people don't get to be in the bad bitch club, and Goradel doesn't get to be in the bad bitch club. So up next we have Ruin, the entity I previously discussed. So Ruin's not really a person. There's basically 2 forces in the world, good and evil. He sort of represents the evil side of things, and that is the best I can explain it. Basically, he wanted to end the world. His logic was just like, everything needs to end eventually, and I was like, well, people die, so I guess they do end. And he was like, but that's not good enough. And I was just kind of like, do you really need to have everything? Dumb bitch. So I think I'm gonna put him Scrub season 9, because he's trying to ruin us, literally. Also Preservation, which is the good side of the forces I was talking about. Preservation, Scrub season 9, because useless motherfucker. Like, I get that he wanted to save all life on the universe, but like, do it on your own time, you know what I mean? Like, stop trying to get human beings to do your work for you, maybe just get on with it. He was so unhelpful. He couldn't appear to well, he could appear to human beings, but he couldn't even say anything. All he could do was point. Scrub season 9. I'm gonna put him over Mare, because I feel like forces of good, but I'm over it. So up next we have Orion, and so one thing I will say is there's not a lot of female characters in this book that have speaking roles. I would have liked more, but it wasn't detrimental to the book. Orion, I feel like she had so much potential. When she first got introduced, she appeared like girly, absent-minded, kind of the complete opposite of Vin. So at that point, Vin was presented as like a very strong, stoic person, and Orion was kind of like her opposite. She was into the nicer things. In book 2, when she got introduced, there's this part where her and Vin go dress shopping, and she says something along the lines to Vin of like, we're gonna be best friends. And you know what? I was so ready for that to happen. I was so ready for these 2 opposite women to like come together and be best friends for life. I was ready for that. I was really ready for Vin to have a feminine friend and explore that side of her, because she really did. Vin did want to explore that side of her. And so I feel like Orion was the perfect way to do that. But then it just like didn't happen. Like, they never spoke again. They didn't become best friends, and it really upset me. That's a point deducted. But then at the same time, she had a relationship with one of the crew members, Breeze, so Breeze could soothe emotions. Orion, turns out, could riot them, so she could make you feel more of something. Their relationship was really interesting. Orion was a lot younger than him. You would think that he kind of conned her into being with him, but it was the other way around. It turned out she had been writing his emotions for them to fall in love. Ultimately, it is a wholesome story, but that is a very suspicious beginning. I don't recommend faking emotion. So yeah, it turned out she had a lot more cunning inside of her than we ever could have known. I just feel like the potential was there, but she's not in the bad bitches club. Like, she is a bad bitch, but she's just not in the club. She's kind of the girl that gets invited. She's like a reserve. She's a bad bitch reserve. She gets invited if some of the main bitches can't make it. Tyndall, another female character. Another character who I feel like could have done a lot, not could have done more, but like, spoiler alert, I feel like she died too soon. She died at the end of book 2, and in some way, because Sazed and her have a relationship, and Sazed gets really depressed in book 3, he gets upset as a result of her death. I don't want to say she died just to make him have his moment, but like, she was such an interesting character and such a strong, independent woman, and I feel like we could have seen more of her. We could have just done more. Her past before she came into the book, because she only joined in book 2, was like really fascinating. She was kind of used as a breeder. Like, basically she just had to have all these children, they got taken away from her, and I was like, I'm ready to learn more about that. Like, don't get me wrong, she's fierce and I love her, but I feel like there was just so much left unsaid. Oh, like, she's a bad bitch, but she also isn't in the club. Like, I'm sorry. Maybe it's because it has been a month since I read this book, so I don't really remember much of like her good moments. Like, she was a great character, and that's why I'm so disappointed, because I wanted to see more of her. But that might just be a personal preference. Like, sure, in like literary devices she probably played her part well. I just was ready for more, and that's the only reason she's not in the Bad Bitches Club. Captain Dermo, I'm gonna call him Dermo because I don't know how to say that. A saint, a legend, a prophet, the man, but also irrelevant at the same time, so it is what it is. Over Captain Gorodale, but under the ladies, where he belongs. Zane, another character who I feel like was so interesting, and I was so upset when he departed from the book and from this earth. He was also introduced in book 2. I thought he was so interesting. A lot of characters died, but I feel like he was one who shouldn't have died, or at least just died later. Just when he got more interesting, he was gone. I really wanted to explore, because he too had like a voice in his head that was talking to him, and at the time we didn't have that reveal that Ruin could control people with metal in them, and he was one of the people with the metal in him. He too was like influenced by Ruin from the get-go, and I feel like hashtag deserve better, you know what I mean? But also, because he didn't have that time to shine, it is what it is at the same time. Marsh, ooh, my poor Inquisitor boyfriend. He did the legwork for the rebellion, let's not forget. He worked for years to help the rebels, and then his brother Kelsier basically took that victory away from him, and Marsh took the L. Kelsier swoops in, takes his sunlight, kills Lord Ruler himself, and then Marsh is just left to the dirt. And isn't that every sibling relationship you've ever heard? But he literally suffers the most. He has to become an Inquisitor, lost his eyesight, so sad. And I feel like he's in the Bad Bitches Club. So Kelsier was the main ombre in book 1. I feel like his arc was perfect. Like, it couldn't have been done better. I think it was fantastic that he died in the first book, because he was such a larger than life character, and in the first book I was so fascinated to read about him, and I was just like, Kelsier. He was that much larger than life. It was good that he died, because not only did it complete his arc, but it also then, for book 2 and 3, left room for the other characters to breathe and for them to have their journeys. Like, he took over every scene, and I could have easily read a book series with him the whole way through. Part of what made Kelsier so great was he had this mystery surrounding him, and him dying in book 1 kind of kept that mystery alive. Not seeing behind the curtain is sometimes a good thing. And the beauty of it, because he dies, he essentially becomes a god. He was just as influential in the sequels, even though he was gone, because he left that imprint on everyone, inspired everyone. People literally worship him as a god because he had such a big impact on them. And not only did he have a big impact on them, he had a big impact on me and a big impact on this series. Iconic. Under Vin and Sazed, because like Kelsier is a little too big for his breeches, and we just don't need to give him the confidence of putting him top iconic in the tier. Like, we just don't need to do that, and we're not putting him above 10 soon. Like, he just doesn't need that in his head. He doesn't need a big head. Okay, so next up we have Breeze. And Breeze, from the get-go, from meeting the crew that adopted Vin, he was like a favorite of mine from the beginning. His power was soothing emotions, so he could really like delicately play with people's emotions. He kind of hides behind the snarky exterior, but he is constantly 24/7 working to soothe others and make them the best that they can be. I just love characters where you think, oh, he's hiding behind a wall, it's a facade, but really he's a great person. I clocked him as my boy from the get-go. I clocked that shit. He'll soothe other members of the crew. Anyone who comes to contact with them, he'll soothe without even trying to, because he's just so in touch with all the emotions. Lord Breeze, ladies and gentlemen, we stand. He's in the Bad Bitches Club, and there's no disagreeing with me. Clubs. Okay, so Clubs, another member of the crew, Grumpy Gramps, holds my heart in his hand. The fact that he became general, we stand. The fact that he was a carpenter, we stand. He loved art, and we didn't even know. So he also had a good relationship with Breeze, because Clubs, his power was sort of like masking other metals. If someone was using their power around him, he could hide that person from being found by the Inquisitors, because the Inquisitors can sense the power, right? So Clubs would be like, don't look, nothing to see here. No power being used. When he would chat to Breeze, Breeze couldn't control his emotions, right? Clubs was kind of the only person who Breeze could let his guard down around, because Clubs was unaffected by his soothing. It's kind of the same in Twilight, where Edward couldn't read Bella's mind. She was the only one that was quiet for him. Clubs, Breeze, hashtag still a better love story than Twilight. Clubs is the bad bitch, that's for sure. There's no denying. Toxin, I loved him in the first book, in the second. Literally became kind of irrelevant in the second book, and then when he died, I was just like, okay, bye. Like, I just didn't care. And that was a shame, because in the first book, he was kind of Kelsier's right-hand man. Kelsier ran the crew. Toxin was the person who would jot down the notes that Kelsey needed him to do and then just go do that shit, and I respected that. But then when Kelsey had died, he kind of became like an empty shell, became a grumpy grandpa, and not in the fun kind of way, I just mean in like an kind of way. He could have been a bad bitch, just missed the cut. He just missed it. Spook, wow, okay. Spook, I love Spook. Spook is the underrated rat hero to my heart. Spook really did the most. He really overcame a lot of stuff. First book, young kid, didn't know where he was in the world, didn't know where he belonged. Clubs with his grandpa, so we had that family connection. He had that tie. In the first book, he gave Vin a handkerchief as a sign of courtship, and it was adorable. But also he was like 12, and Vin was just like, with the brush off because she had other hoes to worry about. Spook went from getting denied with the handkerchief to, in book 3, pulling hoes left and right. So Spook's power is 10. He can heighten his senses, so he heighten his eyesight and his sense of smell, but it also will heighten his like pain receptors. So basically if he heightens one thing, it heightens everything. So it has both good and bad qualities to it. Book 3 turned him into someone I loved immensely. Like he really just shined. Puberty hit him and was like, you got things to do, buddy. And he was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna go do those things. He looked up to Kelsey a lot in the first book, and his whole thing was that he didn't feel like he belonged to the crew because he didn't really feel like he was giving the most. And then by book 3, he was a god in my eyes. He was just walking through fire, he was just doing his thing. He just wanted to be like Vin and Kelsia. Kelsia was the survivor of half-sins. Vin was called the heir to the survivor. What did my boy Spook go and do? He became survivor of the flames. So he really just out here. He's a bad bitch. Ellen, last but not least. Scholar turned Mistborn. Book smart, unlike some of us. Ellen drinks respect women juice. He's Mrs. Vin. So him and Vin meet at frequent balls that she has to go to while she's pretending to be someone else. He used to come and read at her table and pretend he wasn't even looking at her, but when he was reading his book, he was really looking at her. They had an adorable love story, and yes, he was a lot more than that love story, but that love story was so cute. In their last book, he would wear a white suit, and the white suit, yes, I was ready for it. The white suit in the midst of the dirty, ashy world, the imagery is immaculate. I feel like Ellen is a bad bitch because he really was just out here. Okay, so this ranking is done. I don't regret anything. I don't regret the choices I made. I was glad to be able to talk about this series without crying. Hopefully I'll see you again sometime, and thanks for watching.